Rock Island Armory RIA 5.0E. Let's check it out. Rock Island Armory is known for its 1911s. In fact, they produce more 1911s than anyone else in the world. They're based in the Philippines, but they have moved production here into the US. Now, this is the RIA 5.0E. We did a review on the original RIA 5.0, which is just an incredible gun. And when I say that, I mean this is so innovative. I've never seen anything like it before. And I really thought that it was more like the Hudson H9, but it is nothing like it. This is really a very unique experience. And when I say we live in the golden age of firearms, this is definite proof. And I want to give a big thank you to Rock Island Armory for sending the RIA 5.0E for this review. The RIA 5.0E. This is from Rock Island Armory. This is a very innovative handgun. I've seen nothing like it. And there are a lot of different features to this handgun that just improve recoil management. It makes it a very soft shooting gun. I mean, it is just an experience, honestly. It's something that I've never experienced before. Now, let's go ahead and make sure the gun's unloaded. We're going to drop the 17+1 magazine. It has 3 magazines that come with the gun, and the chamber is empty. Now, one of the things about this slide coming back is it is incredibly smooth and slick on these frame rails. But the slide actually fits down into the frame. So the frame rails are on the inside, and the slide just fits in, which is very reminiscent of your CZ design. Now, this is a CZ SP01, and guys, these are really sweet shooting guns. And then you go up to the shadows, and they get really incredible. But it's a design that's been around for a long time, and yet it really does aid in recoil. It keeps a low bore axis. There's a lot of advantages with internal slide rails. But the RIA goes well beyond that. And one of the big features is the RVS recoiling system. And it keeps the barrel extremely flat, linear. It's one of the things about John Browning is the barrel's tilt. And you'll notice that a lot of guns, when you pull the slide back, the barrel's kind of sticking up. And this gets away from that to keep that very linear. But you'll also notice, we're going to put it in slide lock, that the barrel is square, which is definitely a departure from anything I've ever seen. Now, the slide is all steel, but your receiver or frame is a aluminum alloy. And then we have a grip shell that's polymer at the bottom, which gives you a lot of texturing, gives you a lot of comfort, and very reminiscent of your 2011. But many of you are saying, well, now we've seen this before, and here is the original, the RIA 5.0. It came out in January of 2023. This is a joint collaboration between Fred Craig and Martin Twasson's of Rock Island Armory. And so this is a very unique design. We had a great time with this handgun. It is so flat shooting, and it just has all the same features design-wise as the enhanced model. But there are some advantages, and we're going to look at that and do a direct comparison. But this gun came out, and it was out for a little while. Then they just disappeared. And honestly, I don't even know why. But I do know that they did a lot of changes to this handgun. I didn't really hear of any issues that were going on with this gun either. I think it was just some things that they wanted to do, and they wanted to make it optimum. And I'll tell you guys, honestly, it's the first time I've seen a major gun manufacturer really make a completely innovative design. Smith & Wesson did it with their Tempo barrel system for their 5.7 and their .22 Magnum. But this is more of a full self-defense handgun. Now, one of the big advantages of this gun, not only with the RVS, but also how low the bore axis is. I don't think I've ever seen a gun with this low of a bore axis. And we'll do a little comparison with a couple of options that have that low bore axis, but this is the lowest I've seen. And this also aids in recoil mitigation because the metal is less mass going over your hand. So just think of it, if you're holding it here and that slide's coming back, the higher up you can get your hand to that slide, the more recoil control you're going to have. Combine that with the RVS and man, you've got a really incredibly shooting firearm. And when you compare it to the CZ design, right here with the beaver tail, it is a considerably higher bore axis. Now the RIA 5.0, both were hammer-fired pistols, and this has a very unique type hammer system. It's a single action. It's actually a flat hammer. Slide comes with a matte DLC coating, which they call their Armor Series finish. It does have slide cuts and opening ports, and they have deepened the serrations on the back as well. But with these ports, it gives you a really easy place to be able to grab this and press check, get this slide back. I mean, even though it's low in the slide, and that's one of the things about the CZ, is because it is so low, sometimes it can be difficult to get your hands on those serrations. And so this kind of gives you that little bit of a wider feel, a little deeper. Now we have a slide stop right here, and so it just engages. But really, there's no frame safety, there's no grip safety, but there is the trigger safety. We're going to take a more of an in-depth look at the trigger. Now it does come with 5-slot Picatinny rail. You can see the finish on here. This is an aluminum frame, so it probably has a Cerakote finish. We have night vision sights. Now these are just a serrated black sight and then a fiber optic sight at the front, and it's dovetailed in. Now, I'm a big fan of night vision night sights. I've not seen their standard sights. Now we'll take a closer look at that barrel. It's 4.91 inches in length. It actually rides into the slide, and again, when we disassemble it, we'll kind of look at some of the details. Here you can see the slide rails on the inside of the frame, which of course correspond with the slide rails on the slide. And so it just nestles in there, and it just brings that slide down and gets it closer and closer to the web of your hand. Has a squared off trigger guard, which is part of the grip shell, and it is polymer. And then we have our mag release right here. And guys, they used the old 1911 mag release, which I thought was unique or different. And so we have our magazine, pops it right out, and so it gives it, even jettisons it when it's down. So it really allows for those magazines to release really fast. Now the RIA 5.0E comes with optics cuts, and you have a cover plate, but it also comes with 2 additional plates to be able to put RMR or RMSC. And so that really covers a lot of the different optics, but this gives you some advantages right out of the box, and it does come with the screws as well. The original RIA 5.0 had a model that was optics ready, and then they had the model that was not. And of course, that is the model that I got. Now, one of the things about this is that the grips are pretty much the same. Grip shell, the texturing is very well done. And it goes all the way around, and it gives your hand a lot of real estate to be able to grab. I mean, it's got a pretty decent sized grip on it, and again, it's got 17 round capacity. But one thing that really was an advancement is the serrations. You can see the serrations are fairly narrow on the original. With the new model, I mean, they've really cut those in deep, and then again, you have those ports that show off that barrel. The Cerakote finish on the original, and then we have an improvement with the DLC coating. But one huge difference internally is that while we have a square barrel on the new model, on the original it had some cuts that came down and around. So it wasn't quite square, it was more of just an oblong here at the bottom, and this just sized this up. And probably that had to do with some of the machining. This was much easier to machine than the original barrel. You had adjustable sights on the rear, but they did hang out just a little bit. Here with the new one, you have a cocking shelf, and it just makes a really nice windage adjustable sight. With the takedown pin, it protrudes just a touch on the original model, and it's flush on the new model. And it looks like we have a roll pin for your trigger pin, and with the original, I mean, it's just a straight pin, which could come out, but with the roll pin, it gives it some more tension. Now, according to Rock Island Armory, we do have a match grade barrel, and there has been some enhancements to the metal. It doesn't state what it is, but there's definitely some improvements. But now, while Cerakote's fine, I mean, the DLC coating really makes a big difference. It's self-lubricating, and so you don't need as much lubrication when you're using your firearm. When it gets dirty, it's just going to work cleaner. It's going to be easier to clean, because it's actually impregnated into the surface. With the Cerakote finish, it is a good hard finish. I like Cerakote fine, but it does add just a touch of thickness to the metal, whereas the DLC coating is impregnated in the metal. It'll give you a longer lasting finish. But one of the guns that really came to mind was the Hudson H9. This was a beautiful firearm, very well made, has a very unique recoiling system as well. It's based under the barrel here. And you know, the bore axis is really low. But when you compare it to the RIA 5.0, I mean, it is not as low because of that beaver tail coming down. And plus, the slide rails being internal also help it to get really low. And I'll tell you guys, this gun right here, it shoots like a dream. I mean, I love this gun. And I really hate that Hudson went out of business. From what I understand, there is another company that bought the rights to this, and I'm hoping to see one come out, because this is just a beautiful gun. But that was before I had gotten this 5.0, which really shoots incredibly well. But another very innovative firearm that I got after I had done my initial review of the 5.0 is the AF1, and this is a strike one. This was from Arsenal in Italy. Now, the Archon B was from Arsenal USA, and they actually are pretty much the same handguns. But talking about a low bore axis, I mean, it gets really low. In fact, it may be just as low as the RIA. And it has the Bergman system inside, which the Bergman recoiling system, again, it keeps things super flat as well. It keeps the barrel in a linear position, but it is a different type setup. But I'll tell you guys, this is also an incredibly flat shooting gun, and it was really good to see these released last year. So while the Archon B is hard to find, the AF1 is really an excellent firearm and made in Italy. Now, we have a flat face trigger, and we do have a trigger safety, and so you have to depress this for the gun to fire. And so here we have what Rock Island Armory says, a 4.5 pound trigger. So we have a little bit of take up right to here, some resistance, and then a nice break. Reset right there. We're going to check the trigger pull weight with our Lyman trigger gauge. 3 pounds, 4.4 ounces. 3 pounds, 7 ounces. So considerably under the 4.5 pound mark. And the weight on the RIA 5.0E, 35.5 ounces. We want to give a big thank you to Fiocchi for sponsoring our ammo. They're all made in the USA, #1 supplier of ammunition in the country. Arms Corps did send a couple of boxes of 9mm, and we want to shoot it as well, and we appreciate them for sending it. And also, we want to give a big thank you to Lula Loaders for saving our thumbs. So guys, here we are again with the RIA 5.0, and this is the E model. Has some advancements, but I'll tell you guys, this is one of the smoothest shooting pistols that you'll shoot. A lot of it has to do with the slide rails nestling into the frame. Very similar to the CZ, a super low bore axis. I mean, it's the lowest I've ever seen. Sights come out really well. Just a beautiful gun. I
mean, that just barely moves. It just kind of bounces a little bit. It makes it really just soft shooting. And again, you're getting that really high bore axis. They've relieved some of the weight out of the slide, so it actually lightens it a little bit. Again, we could have gone optics ready. I like to shoot them the way they are out of the box. But very comfortable ergonomic grip as well. I tell you guys, this is an experience, and it's really great to see Rock Island Armory bringing this out. And you know, I tell you guys, I know I say this a lot, we are in the golden age of firearm technology, and it's just continuing to grow. +17 in the magazine. I mean, you can go all day. This is really a state-of-the-art firearm. That is freaking incredible.
All right, we're going to disassemble the RIA 5.0E. Gun is unloaded. Now the first thing you want to do is bring back your slide. There are two little dimples. You just line them up, and then we're going to take and push out our slide stop. And you've got to make sure that those are lined up, and then just pull it right out. Next, the slide just comes right off the frame. Now first thing you can see, the internal slide rails, and they are all the way down the slide, and then you have your corresponding rails in your frame as well. And there are some things we're going to look at. They've reinforced it. In fact, right here you'll see this is a steel insert, and this helps when the slide is recoiling back and forth, and there's the pin for it, and that just protects the aluminum. This is the RVS system, and you have your locking block right here. This is actually called the ram, and then the slide locking block. So we need a paper clip or a really small Allen wrench. And so you take the back of the locking block and you push it forward, just like this, and the barrel comes out as well. And you'll notice the small little hole right there in the ram, and you just place in your paper clip. And so this just contains and captures it. Now right here on the slide locking block there's a small pin, and this actually holds the ram into place. So once you just push that through, and it comes out pretty easily. Now we can take our barrel and push it, and it pushes back the block. And once it gets to this position, you can just remove it. Now one thing you'll notice is this detent, and this actually fits against here, and that really is part of the activating system, and we'll show you that in a second. Next we're going to take our ram, take off tension off of that paper clip and remove it, and slowly bring back your spring and the rod, or the ram is what they call it. One of the reasons why it's called a ram is because this tip on the end is angled, and I'll show you about that in a second. That's a very important part. Now this is your locking valve right here, and it's actually held in by the ram, so if you turn it upside down it should just come right out. And then we're going to take our barrel and just push it right out of the end of the slide. This barrel is extremely unique. Of course, obviously it's square. It really rides in the slide very well, and you just have the two cuts, one for your slide locking block and one for your locking valve. Now here we have it field stripped, and while it is a little different, it's not really that difficult. Now I have the original 5.0 on the bottom, the E model at the top. Pretty much everything is the same as far as the internals, except for these cuts up at the bottom of the frame. You can see that the 5.0E has a little bit of a longer little trough right here, whereas the original is a little bit shorter. We have a different style of pin that's in the original model. Here they're a little more recessed. But on the other side you can see that these are torque screws. The trigger pin's a roll pin in the E model. It's just a standard pin in the original. And there is a pin that's right here behind the trigger guard, which there's not one in the new model. Now here with the original model, you can see that this shelf comes all the way out and stops and then is raised. Here it's removed altogether, and then it starts right here where this raised area starts here. Now on the original model we have more of some cuts right here, which on the new model it's just more squared off, easier to machine. Now the new model has that square, the older model has cuts all the way down, just a little bit of a different shape, but all the other cuts are the same. And here on the older model, there's actually a cut right here, and that's to actually put your punch down and press this detent. With the new model, it just has a small angle, and you're actually removing your pin that holds in your ram. For reassembly, take your barrel, insert it back into the slide. Next, we're going to take our recoil spring and our ram. Remember that this angle has to go to the top of the slide. Now with your locking valve, there is a cut at the bottom and it corresponds with a cut in the barrel. So you want to just line that up and drop it in. And your ram actually goes through this area. Next, we're going to take our ram and recoil spring and we're going to put it back into this hole. And again, making sure that this is in the up position. You can turn it once you get it in there, but it makes it a lot easier to put it in the right configuration. Once you see the hole, put your paper clip through and you can release. This little angle overcomes your locking lug, so you want to make sure again that it is in that upper position. Now right here is a little shelf where this little detent fits against. And so we're going to want to make sure that we get that just placed in there like that. Then just push it all the way to the end of the slide. Now give yourself some room here so when you put back in your pin, it's free and clear. And it may take a little bit, there it goes, of finagling, but there we are. And that is holding in this ram. So now we can just give it a little bit of tension, relieve the tension, and pull out your paper clip, and then just bring it all the way back. And it should be into place. Next, we're going to put the slide back over the frame, line up those two little dots, and reinsert your slide stop, just like that. And we're back in business. Now the RIA 5.0E is made in the United States in Cedar City, Utah. They do have a limited lifetime warranty on them. One thing about this gun in particular is that they hand fit most of the parts. It really has to be a smooth fit for the slide and the frame to work. And it gives it really tight tolerances. And as we saw with the accuracy, I mean, this thing is something else. Plus the recoil management is just phenomenal. Now, that comes with a price. I mean, this is a highly innovative design. Again, the hand fitting, made in the USA. And so the retail price is $1,998, which, you know, is steep. But there's a lot of guns out there that are much more expensive. And to me, this falls in line with more toward a custom type, very unique design, very new innovation. Now as far as pros and cons, first off, you're getting a completely new innovation in a firearm that's really never been seen. The RVS system is just phenomenal. Top that with internal slide rails and a super low bore axis, and it makes this gun shoot like a dream. Very little recoil, very little muzzle rise. In fact, all you see is the front sight just kind of bobble. Polymer grip shell gives you a lot of texturing, and then we have the aluminum frame and the steel slide. I love the serrations in the slide. These cuts are a real nice addition, and this is an improvement over the original. Night vision sights, but you know, these are compatible with other sights. Optics ready, accessory rail, 17+1 in the magazine, and you get 3 mags. So this is honestly a ready-to-go firearm for competition, for different type matches, and for just taking it out and having a great time at the range, and also a home defense firearm. And again, it's great to see a major gun manufacturer putting out something that is so innovative and so unique. And I think we'll be seeing more from Rock Island Armory USA. So guys, the RIA 5.0E, definitely very innovative. I mean, there's so many features to this gun that just really step outside the lines of most of the guns that we're seeing. In fact, I've never seen anything like it before. And it's really cool to see Rock Island Armory coming in to be so innovative. Guys, they've been making, again, 1911s for at least 70 years. And it's great to see a major gun company step out and just really put together an incredible firearm. And again, we want to give a big thank you to Rock Island Armory for sending the RIA 5.0E for this review. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America. Long live the Republic. The recoil is excessive. I mean, but the recoil, but the freaking recoil. The H9 was the Hudson.
We always give a bit. Let's do that again.
Now notice a cut in the, okay, what is this again? You're able to get those 3rd and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8, 9 and 10 follow-up shots.
The rails down into the slide rails down.
It brings that hammer into the rear position. Also, no, I don't know. We're going to check the magazine and check that. We're going to do something. I don't know what we're going to do. We're going to do something stupid.